What's it, buddy? Wait, does he have one in his mouth? Buddy. Buddy. Oh, he's gonna break it. Is he?
Okay, he's broken it.
I feel like when the powerpuff girls. Oh, Lord. Okay. Hello. Welcome to my ball pit. How's it going? How did you get in here? This is my private ball pit. I haven't planned this video today. I just kind of decided to do this on a whim. So I'm probably going to end up yammering on for a while. But if you're a person out there in the world who's interested in hearing another person yammer on about their friendless childhood, then you're going to have a ball of a time. You are in for some fun. Years ago, I did this personality test called the Myer Briggs personality test or something. In the last few days, I kind of looked into it again. Some people, I think, when they first hear like, oh, personality test, you probably think like little BuzzFeed personality test or whatever that website was that used to just do these little, oh, which Harry Potter character are you? I'm wrong. It's based on some kind of science. I think a psychologist made the test, but I don't know for certain. And I'm not going to give any proper information on it because I don't want to misinform anyone, which is probably something that politicians should keep in mind. All the politicians out there, watch this section of the video. I don't know the information, so I'm not going to give any, as I don't want to misinform people.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, Papa Trump.
So, yes, this personality test, though, is actually... I found it to be really good. When I did it years ago and to this day, it gave me a description back of myself that was just to a T. Firstly, it gives you kind of an insight into yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise really had. It helps you to kind of realize what's strong about you, but also work on the weaknesses that you have. And it can help you, you know, and it's also just interesting. But the personality that I have is considered the rarest type. It's called INFJ. When you first hear that it's the rarest, you probably think, oh, that sounds good. That sounds like you're special. And it actually isn't necessarily a good thing. The quickest way I can just shoot down the idea that it's a good thing is that you are then different from 99% of people. Probably over 99% of people. You're weird, basically. It's a nice way of saying that you're weird. It means that you're unusual, and that means that you probably don't relate to people that easily. It probably means that you've spent a lot of your life feeling a bit different. I've been looking in these like INFJ forums, and I've been looking at INFJ videos on YouTube. A lot of them talk about how they don't have friends or they don't have a relationship, you know, that they spend a lot of time unhappy or that they don't, you know, they don't do well in group situations. I think one thing I've noticed about INFJs and maybe people who do spend a lot of time on their own in general is that they tend to overanalyze. I see all these people talking and I see how this INFJ community who analyzes a lot and who are all kind of experiencing similar things and have always felt a little bit alienated from other people, have always felt a bit different, feeling bad about the situation that they're in or feeling bad about being an INFJ personality. It's just a personality assessment. It doesn't say who you are as a whole person, of course. Oh, but also, I forgot to even mention, if you do want to check out the test, do the test. Tell me what personality you are. You're probably not going to be an INFJ, but it's interesting to know at whatever personality you are, you can find out stuff about you. Anyway, so I've heard these people talking, you know, they're kind of looking at it in a harsh light on themselves. And it made me want to talk about this because I don't really believe that there's anything wrong whether you're a shy person, a person who doesn't have many friends, a person who doesn't socialize a lot, feels different from others, feels like an alien in the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with you. And I really don't think that you have to be so hard on yourself. I don't think that you need to feel so much pressure to fit in with other people. And I just wanted to give some backstory, I guess, to try and explain where I'm coming from. This is just for people out there, whether they're INFJs or not. Just if you're the type of person who doesn't have many friends, maybe you don't have any people you'd consider friends. If you spend a lot of time on your own, if you're just feeling down about that, I'm not encouraging that you completely hermitize yourself, that you just wrap yourself in a little ball and hide away from the world. I actually encourage the opposite. That's why I do this YouTube channel, is just to try and challenge myself. I'm the type of person who doesn't like to draw any attention to myself. So doing something like this is a huge challenge for me, and that's why I do it. So I'll get onto some backstory. When I was a kid, I grew up in this little town in Ireland. I was very comfortable there. I was there since I was 3 years old, and I had my little close group of friends, about 3 or 4 or 5 friends who I absolutely loved. And I was actually quite a bossy little kid. I was very creative, and I liked to make videos and write songs and kind of write scripts for plays and comedy sketches and all sorts of things. I would make a little perfume shop and make perfume out of flowers and water and try and sell it to the parents in the estate. And I made a drinks shop, like, where I mixed my waddy. And any my waddy fans out there? It's not your waddy, it's my waddy. Yeah, so I did like all sorts, and I get my friends involved. And I remember starting a dance class. Okay, Emily, stop talking about your childhood. I'm trying really hard not to squish any of these balls. So I had very close friends in my childhood. And then when I was 10, my parents decided that they wanted to move to Portugal, which was somewhere we'd been on holiday to. But other than that, we didn't really know anything about it. And we moved to this really touristy area. We started going to an international school, me and my sister. And I did not fit in at all. Like, it was such a culture shock to me. It was a very small class, and it would have been mainly people from wealthy families who would move to a place like that and put their kid in an international school. So I was suddenly around these mainly wealthy English kids. Having come from this little town in Ireland, it was just such a culture shock. And I know you'd think a lot of the time Ireland and England get confused for each other, and they're only like half an hour plane ride from each other, but it really is a huge culture difference in actuality. And as a 10-year-old, I really noticed that. So I ended up with no friends, and that was really hard because friends were really important. I guess friends are important to all kids and all people. So I really struggled with it, and I never really made friends. And I used to just walk around the playground at lunchtime and like feel embarrassed that I didn't have anyone to hang out with and not really know what to do with myself. And I used to just walk around and kind of try and avoid, I guess, being seen by people, to be seen, to just be on my own, you know. I really remember it being this awful thing, like just walking around not really knowing what to do with myself. I think from what I've heard of INFJs, a lot of them will probably relate to that kind of experience and relate to the experience of ending up alone a lot or ending up not really having friends. And the thing was, it was kind of self-imposed. Like, I could have opened up more to other kids. I could have been more outgoing, said a bit more, tried to join in with the other kids. And I probably, I would have made friends. But if you're naturally a certain way where you close up and you are very reserved and quiet and shy, it's not that easy as a child to step out of that, So I just kind of lived with that. As I said, I was very creative as a kid, and I was always writing stuff. I was writing plays, I was writing musicals, and I was writing songs. I know I posted a video at Christmas that would make you think that there is no way on earth that I'm a songwriter, but I actually studied songwriting as a degree. And I passed. I got the degree. But yeah, no, I'll actually link to my music channel just so you can get an idea of what my actual music is like. But yeah, so I was all into music, and I was very sensitive and very kind of shy and emotional. There weren't many people like that in the area where we lived in Portugal. It just wasn't that kind of area. But when I was 16, I ended up meeting these group of guys who were in a band, and they were playing in pubs and restaurants, and they were doing cover music. But it was the first group of musicians that I'd really gotten to know. I ended up joining their band. They kind of took me under their wing. I guess they're a bit more sensitive because they're also musicians, and they kind of understood, oh, this is just a shy girl. She just needs, a bit of a chance to come out of her shell a bit. I ended up joining that band, playing with them, and totally flourishing. In Portugal back then, it was the legal age for drinking was 16. I don't drink at all now. Like, I do not drink. But back then, I went through my little phase of going out and being a teenager and enjoying myself and drinking. And I was working, playing music at parties, so I'd hang out there afterwards and have fun. I just got to experience being like a normal teenager and, socializing a lot. Kind of my natural instinct is to feel like people aren't safe, and to be very, as an INFJ, and maybe other introverted and shy people are like this, I tend to analyze people. So if I'm in a group setting, I will tend to assess people and listen and take in information and analyze what people's characteristics are and kind of figure them out. I've always been like that, even since I could speak, like analyzing people and deciding whether or not I would then talk. I think it's a protective mechanism. I think it's a way of feeling safe before you then open yourself up to people. But during, for example, that time when I was in the band, those guards kind of came down because I had a group of people around me that I felt very comfortable with. I then ended up just kind of going out into the world feeling like that, and other people that I'd meet, I felt so much more confident, and I felt a lot more outgoing and social during that time. As bands do, there was drama and things kind of broke up. It broke up. I moved back to Ireland and I went to university and I started studying this degree in songwriting. I just spent 2 years, no friends again, kind of went back into myself, little hermit again, feeling very shy and antisocial. And then after a couple of years, I got introduced to a new group of people within the university who were in my songwriting degree course. They were in my class. I just hadn't met them before. I just clicked with these people. I went into it protecting myself and scared, but I think it's a very specific type of person who will go to a songwriting degree in Ireland. It's not a common thing to do. I think it brought a group of people who were very like-minded together. Suddenly I was around a group of people who also spent half their time alone in their bedroom writing songs, and I was suddenly around a group of people who were very analytical and self-analytical and self-reflective and liked having deep conversations and were a bit more quiet and a bit more reserved and a bit more sensitive. And you don't come across that type of person very often in your life. You really don't, let alone just a whole class of people that are pretty much all like that. It was this crazy experience that I just feel like is so unusual because they're kind of more sensitive. A couple of them could see that I was shy and I was reserved, so they would kind of take that first step and kind of break down my wall a bit and talk to me and ask me questions, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's safe to go there, which doesn't usually happen in day-to-day life with your average person and with extroverted people who are used to just someone being a lot more of an open book. When you're a closed book, it can actually kind of scare people. It can kind of, they don't know what to do with you, that sometimes it just depends on the person. Yeah, so I ended up around this group of people, and once again I just completely blossomed. I was regularly in this environment around people who I felt like I could relate with and that I felt were similar. And it made me feel so kind of comfortable and safe that I then was, meeting their friends or meeting their acquaintances without any worry. I was going out all the time and hanging out with them and, socializing, and it was no problem. And for introverted people, sometimes they can feel very drained by socializing, but I was loving socializing, and I wanted to spend more and more time with people. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to not be around people. But my point of telling that kind of story of my life So after university ended, I kind of knew I actually did know this was going to happen. We all went our separate ways. It's musicians, so of course everyone just went all over the place. Some people went on tour all around the world. Some people just moved to Australia, New Zealand. I moved back to Portugal. Everyone kind of scattered. I needed to make money somehow, and I just went and built a business in Portugal to get me by, to kind of earn money to do some recording. And while I did that, I spent a lot of time alone. And again, I'm back in Portugal where I don't really tend to relate to the people around me. I also tend to work in events and parties a lot. So I get to witness a lot of parties and a lot of big parties that have lots of money behind them. It's just a totally different vibe from what I would do and what I am. And I watch these people a lot and I start thinking to myself, I should be like that maybe. Like I couldn't throw a party and have 200 people at it. I don't even know 200 people. And I think like, oh, you know, they all seem to be getting so drunk and having so much fun. They're all dancing. They're all letting loose so much. Maybe I should be like that. And I'm not like that. And I start to doubt myself because I'm watching people like that all the time. But I have to remember that when I did find a group of people who were like me, I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with me. You know, we had our version of a party, but it was different from this version that other people do. So the reason I'm telling you that story is because I feel like if you are the type of person who doesn't have a lot of friends or who doesn't like going out, what I'm trying to explain or trying to get across is that I don't think it's anything to do with there being something inherently wrong with you. I just think that we are more rare. Quiet, shy people are more rare in society. And society isn't really built for shy, quiet people, introverted people. There's not a lot of understanding of people like that. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you've grown up in the world. Your personality is a certain way. Your instincts are a certain way in social situations. And other people don't necessarily get it. And that's fine. That is completely okay. I think that most of our feelings of, oh, I should have friends. Oh, I should be this way, I should be that way, I should be more social, I should act differently, I should be more extroverted, I should be more talkative. I think most of that comes from outside pressure. I don't think that really comes from within you. I think if you could just be what you naturally are, you wouldn't feel like there's anything wrong with it if there wasn't an outside world telling you that there is. I remember as a teenager, I used to get a lot of school reports that would say, every year, they would say, Emily is so, you know, she's so good in this, she excels in this, but she should participate in class more. She doesn't participate in class enough. She doesn't join in group conversations. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't vocalize her opinions enough or whatever. Every year hearing this. And I used to put so much pressure on myself. I remember as a teenager just feeling so much like, Emily, you have to try and speak up, you know? Be like the other kids and just say something without raising your hand first, you know? Or if the teacher does ask something, you know, raise your hand and give your opinion. I didn't want to have to say it in front of the whole class. That was so scary to me. And I'd just be like, Emily, just do it, you know? You know, you have to do something to show that you're participating more and to be more normal. And I used to put so much pressure on myself to just be this idea that these teachers kept telling me I should be. It caused me so much stress as a teenager. I used to just think there was something wrong with me. And then when I was about 16 or so, I was talking to my mom and somehow it came up about that. And she said to me, yeah, that always bothered me that they would say in the school reports about how, oh, Emily should talk more, Emily should engage more. She said, I always just thought, so what? You know? Why? What's wrong with her just being her? Why does she have to? And when my mum said that, I was so affected by that because it was the first time in my life when someone had said to me, oh wait, no, it's okay to be you. Like, it had never even occurred to me that it might be okay to be that way. Because everyone had always told me, you should be participating more. You should be vocalizing more. You should be talking more in class. Since I was a kid. And so it was so ingrained in me. And my mum saying that to me at 16, it was the first time anyone had just said, oh, by the way, it might be okay. It might be okay. Like, who gives a shit? Who gives a poo? Who gives a poo if you don't talk in class? You're doing great in class. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. And that was such a freeing thing for me. It was such a life-changing moment. It's amazing how someone can just say something to you in passing and it just changes your whole view of yourself. And, something that's weighed you down, you can just feel like, oh my God, I don't have to, I'm okay as I am, And so that's why I'm kind of making this video, because if there's people out there who are feeling this pressure, whether you're young or old, because I still put that pressure on myself sometimes. I just want you to know that you're perfect as you are. You're okay. And it's okay to accept yourself as you are, and just be aware that there are outside pressures that are coming in all the time. They're not necessarily right. There's just this common thing of oh, a lot of us are extroverts, or a lot of us like talking, so everyone should be that way. Well, everyone isn't that way, I'm afraid. And so what if they're not? I'm sorry if it makes some people uncomfortable, but oh well. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying go and just end up becoming a total hermit, because I do think it's important for us that for humans to have social interactions and connections. As humans, we're very dependent on each other, and it's very important for our mental health. But that doesn't mean you have to have tons of friends, If you're comfortable with your family or your very close friends, that's fine, Just wanted to say to anyone out there who is watching, because as a teenager, I doubted for so many years. There's been, even to this day, I sometimes feel like, oh my God, I should have more friends, or I should be this way, or I should feel like I can talk with people more and chat more. But if you're not comfortable, you're not comfortable. And if you don't relate to the majority of people, that's just the way you are. It doesn't mean that your tribe isn't out there. It doesn't mean that your group isn't out there. It just means that you're a bit more rare, and it's harder to find other people like you. They're out there though, I promise. I'm going to say this little theoretical thing, because imagine in the alternative universe, the world was mainly introverted people, or the world was mainly INFJs, instead of the other way around as it is in reality. Imagine that. How do you think that you would be if everyone else was kind of similar to you and liked to spend a lot of time alone and was a bit more reserved and liked to have more one-on-one conversations and deep, meaningful conversations and take time to get to know someone and didn't really like big parties? Then the norm would be that. The norm would be to not have huge parties, to spend more time reading at home or watching YouTube. The norm would be to take time to get to know people and form deeper connections with them. And you would never be questioning if it was weird to be the way you were. And you'd probably blossom. You'd probably flourish. I know that when I was in that situation in my lifetime, where I was around mainly people who were similar to me, I completely flourished. And I don't think that being shy and everything means there's something wrong with you. It just means that you're in the minority, and it's not always easy to be in the minority. But I truly believe that you can find your place. You can accept yourself for what you are and who you are, and whether you have no friends or 100 friends, or prefer to spend your time on your own, prefer to go out and party, whatever it is, it's you and it's okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. And if you do the personality test, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you're a fellow INFJ, please introduce yourself. It's very nice to meet you. We probably have a fair bit in common, so feel free to say hi. See you later. By the way, I still haven't figured out how you got in here.